Getting down to sub 10% body fat is not easy. Getting lean is not easy. Otherwise, everyone would be lean and everyone would be sub 10% body fat. But it does become 17 times easier if you follow these 5 steps to not only get down to sub 10% body fat and stay effortlessly lean year round. And these steps are not going to be just eating a calorie deficit, because you've heard all that information before. You know you need to eat in a calorie deficit. It's not groundbreaking information that, yes, calories in versus calories out is the reason why people lose weight. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, a little bit more nuance on certain subjects and how to make getting lean effortless. And the first one is going to be having a system, having a framework in place for you to follow. This will make it so much more simple, so much easier. So many people start a diet, they look to get into shape, and they just completely wing it. They eat different meals every single day. They have meals at different times every single day. It's all kind of just chaos, and there's so much going on. And then they find an extreme approach. They find an approach that goes, oh, I'm just going to follow these rules. They end up going, oh, I'm going to start fasting, for example, and they end up fasting, but then there's no structure after they break the fast, and they end up just going over on their calories anyway. Fasting is by no means magic. I do it, but it's no means magic, but it is a tool to get you to eat less calories across the day. But once you actually break that fast and have that first meal, you need to have structure, you need to have some sort of framework in there so you can hit them calories every single day and be consistent with that. Because just focusing on eating a little bit better, just focusing on hitting calories is gonna work in the short term. It isn't gonna get you results consistently, and you're not gonna be consistent with that, because what you eat is gonna translate into energy and what you kind of do. So if you are filling your calories and you're not having the framework in and around your training, in and around doing other activities, then you're not going to be burning as many calories as you think or as you really could. But if you followed a system, if you followed a framework, oh, first meal is going to be at this rough time, and it's going to be this, and then my next meal is going to be that, and it's going to be at this rough time, and you eat the same things every single day, or roughly the same things every single day. I say 3 to 5 meal rotation. We have roughly the same meals every single day. This makes it easier because at the minute you just need momentum. And that is what getting lean, that's what getting really, really lean is all about. Having momentum and being consistent with that momentum. Because once you've got the momentum, then it becomes a lot easier. And you get momentum by doing the same things over and over again. And once you kind of get into a flow state, then it becomes like a lifestyle. If you are someone that is fasting, then I would follow this exact framework. I would fast for the first 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day. It isn't gospel, it isn't like a set routine. I'll do 3 to 5 hours usually, sometimes even longer if I'm not too hungry in the morning. I'll then have the exact same meal in the first meal every single time. It's always going to be yogurt, something nourishing to get me around 40 to 50 grams of protein. I'll have fruit, I'll have yogurt, I'll have some raw honey in there, I'll have some dark chocolate. And I'll sometimes have either Medjool dates or sort of squares bar before I train. What you're looking for here is something to kind of hit the spot, to get later on into the day. And the reason why I do this framework and have this kind of smaller meal, 500-600 calories earlier on, is because I know myself, and I know for a lot of people, when are you going to go over on your calories? It's never going to be in the morning, and it's never going to be at lunchtime. It's always going to be in the evening. So I'll tend to have bigger meals. That's the structure. That's the framework that I have to make the system then work for me. And then later on, I'll have a bigger meal. It's always going to be about 100 grams of protein. It's going to be red meat. It's going to be potatoes. It's going to be a few eggs. And then I'll have a little bit of dessert after. And I do the same thing all of the time. And I do not get bored of it. I don't go, oh, I need a bit more variety. I need a bit more of this, a bit more of that. Yes, sometimes I will do chicken, and then sometimes I'll do maybe salmon. It's pretty much the same things every single day. And it doesn't matter if I'm losing weight, maintaining weight, I follow that exact structure. The next one is going to be making the diet enjoyable. How many times have you started a diet where you've gone, oh, I've got to eat this food, I've got to eat that food, I'll stick to this for 5 to 6 weeks, and then once I've finished that, then that's me done. How sustainable is that really? But let me tell you the problem with that. When you're going to get lean, yes, you'll get lean doing that. You go, oh, I can stick to this for 8 to 10 weeks. But 8 to 10 weeks is a very short time. What's going to happen in the next year, in the next 2 years, the next 5 years, if you then go back to the way you were eating before? You're just going to be stuck in this cycle of losing 5 kilos and then gaining the same 5 kilos back, because you then return back to the eating habits because you're fed up and you can't actually stick to that diet. And this usually comes when people are kind of crash dieting, maybe for a social event, maybe for a holiday, maybe they're going, I'm fed up, I just want to lose 10 kilos as quick as possible. And the calories go really, really low, and they end up eating 1600 calories. And they can do that for 8 weeks and they lose a load of weight. And then what happens is they've pulled that elastic band, they're pulling it, it snaps back in the face, and they start going back to the way they were doing before, overeating, and they end up getting 5-6 kilos regained again. Because I don't know about you, but I do want to enjoy my life. So I do want to make the diet and the foods that I eat every single day, I make them enjoyable. Even the foods that I'm eating with healthy foods, I make them enjoyable, and I enjoy and look forward to every single meal that I eat. And this is why I go with the framework of eating 80% of my foods throughout the day, single ingredient whole foods, like your yogurt, eggs, red meat, sweet potato, chicken, all of these things that I would fill 80% of my diet to make sure I'm getting all the vitamins and micronutrients that I need. And then 20% of my diet is going to come from other foods that maybe I want. Maybe I want a donut at some point for just one day. Maybe I want to have a bit of dessert in the evening. I'll have a little bit of chocolate in the evening. And that's just the way I enjoy it. Because I want to be lean year round, because I want to be staying in around 10% body fat, then I do want to be able to enjoy it and not have to completely restrict myself and go, oh, I can't eat that food, I can't eat this food, no. And then you stay away from that food, And the willpower only lasts so long. If you constantly go, oh, I need to stay away, you're going to pull that force, and then the willpower is going to drop, and then you're going to end up overeating. And then how healthy does that really sound, as opposed to just having something every single day added into your diet? And you want a moderate calorie deficit, none of this 1,000 plus calorie deficit. Yeah, it sounds good in theory, but it's not very practical at all. I would be going for a moderate calorie deficit. I wouldn't be going anything over 500 calories. So if your maintenance is around 2,700 calories, then I'd be aiming for going no lower than 2,100 calories at the lowest. And the next one's going to be having an even split of your macros. So your macronutrients are going to be your proteins, fats, and carbs. And there's a big thing in the fitness industry of extremism, where people go, oh, you need super high protein, or I do no carbs, I do low fat, and this is the best thing ever. That's going to work in the short term. And you always notice with these people, when they are doing these extreme diets where they completely cut carbs or they completely cut out fats, that they're on some sort of performance enhancing drug. They are usually on some testosterone, they are usually on something because they are lacking something within their diet. If you go too low with the carbs, if you go too low with the fats and high with the protein, your testosterone isn't going to be as optimal as it should be. And you notice all these bodybuilders that do really low fats and really high carbs, they're doing like 4,000 calories a day and they're having 40 grams of fats throughout the day and pushing loads into the carbs. They're on testosterone, so they don't need to worry about that at all. But for us naturals, we do need to worry about this. And a lot of people will overshoot protein massively, eating 200, 250 grams. Once you get past 0.82 grams per pound of body weight, then you don't really need that much more protein. You're much better off getting your calories from your carbs, from your fats, because fats are going to be amazing for hormone regulation and carbs are going to be amazing for performance in the gym with your energy, because they are your body's main source of energy. And once you overshoot protein, yes, it's the most satiating macronutrient. Your body then has to turn that protein into carbs when it could be a lot easier and you just eat the carbs and they use the carbs. So you're looking for about 40% coming from carbs, you're looking about 30% coming from proteins and fats. And the next one is going to be focusing on steps over cardio. That might sound very, very controversial to a lot of people, especially with the bodybuilding sort of industry, where I have a massive focus on cardio, spending 30-40 minutes doing cardio every single day attached to a bike inside in a gym. In my opinion, I don't think that's worth it at all. For me, when I started doing more cardio, I got more hungry after it. So it was a hunger accelerator. When you're getting lean, when you're staying lean, you don't want to be doing things where you're constantly accelerating your hunger and making you more hungry, because it makes it a lot harder to stick to them calories. It's the same with being in the gym training too often. If you're in the gym 5-6 days a week, when I was in the gym training 5-6 days a week doing cardio, I came home absolutely starving and I ended up eating 700-800 calories, but I didn't really need to overeat on them calories at all. Steps are going to be a lot lower impact, especially when the calories are going to be a little bit lower. You want to focus a lot more on your recovery, and they're a lot lower impact on your muscles, on your joints, as opposed to doing running or doing any sort of high intensity cardio. It's also good just getting outside. I wouldn't be doing a load of your steps on the treadmill inside, because honestly that just sounds very, very depressing, especially even it's now getting close to December and I'm actually still seeing sun, which is mental. Getting yourself outside in nature every single day for an hour or two a day is going to be key for maintaining and boosting your energy levels, because you never come back from a walk and think, oh, I've got less energy after doing that. When you finish cardio, when you finish the gym, you do feel absolutely finished. You feel very fatigued, and you're constantly burning calories throughout the day if you're going out for constant walks throughout the day. I'd be aiming for 10,000 minimum. I know that's a marketing scheme for a lot of people, but it is a good standard kind of set. 10k per day. But if you are doing currently 5k steps a day, don't just go, I'm going to go straight up to 10,000 steps a day, because that is not sustainable at all. I would go, right, add on 2k steps on top of what you're currently doing right now. So if you're doing 4k, bump it up to 6, and then once you get 6 out of the way, then you bump it up to 8, and then you get yourself to 10. 10's good. If you really want aggressive fat loss, you want to eat a little bit more food, then 14k would be a very, very solid amount to go for. I wouldn't be going mad with the steps and going 20, 30,000, because you're just going to drive up even more fatigue. I think that's a bit overkill. Yes, one off, it's completely fine, but I wouldn't be doing that all of the time. And finally, this is one thing that not a lot of people will talk about. People talk about a lot how to get lean and how to get lean. No one really talks about how to actually stay lean, because once you get lean, that's, in my opinion, the easy part. Everyone knows how to do that. Everyone's lost weight. Everyone's done it before. But what happens with a lot of people is they then lose the weight, but then they regain all of the weight back, mainly because they start doing something different that got them in shape. If you think about it logically, what you do to get you in shape is what's going to keep you in shape. They might have had a restrictive diet, a restrictive training routine, a restrictive kind of over the done cardio routine as well. But what happens when they've done 12 weeks? They go, I can't do that any longer, and they go back to the way they were doing before. That's why that then happens. If you had a framework, if you had a system that you were able to enjoy and stick to long term to get you lean, then how much easier is it going to be to obviously maintain that? Because once you then finish on your cutting calories, let's say you're cutting on 2,200 calories, you've probably got about 400 or 500 calories to get back up to your maintenance. So you still want to use the exact same framework. So at the minute, I'm currently cutting down. I'm going to get down to about 170 pounds. But once I get to 170, once I get to my goal weight, I'm not going to go, oh, I'm going to stop fasting. I'm going to stop having these meals. I'm still going to eat the same meals. I'm just going to add a little bit more in there. I'm going to add 200 calories to my pre-workout meal, and I'm going to add 200 calories later on in the day. But it's going to be the same foods, but I'm just going to be adding in more in terms of the portion sizes. Because a lot of people say, oh, once you finish the cut, then you're going to be able to enjoy life. Ideally, you should be enjoying your life. Yes, there's going to be times where you're going to be hungry and it's going to be harder to stick and you are going to go over. That happens. You are human. 9 times out of 10, you are enjoying your calories. You're hitting your calories. You're enjoying what you are doing. That's going to be the exact same when you go up to maintenance. There's this idea that you have to go into this massive bulking phase and eat a load of food. In my opinion, that is just an excuse to eat more food and get fat. You can build muscle at maintenance if you need to, 100 calories above maintenance, but you're not really going above 3,000 calories if you really want to stay lean, depending on the amount of activity that you are doing. So that's why it's very, very important to find the framework, find the system that fits your lifestyle, because you want to be able to do it for 6, 12, you want to be do this for years to come, because then you can go through phases where you go, all right, I'm going to cut down a little bit, maybe then you get back up to maintenance and get into a little bit of a gaining phase where you're 100 calories, but you're still eating the same foods, you're still doing the same system, but then you go, right, it's getting closer to summer, I want to get a little bit leaner, then you then cut down again, and you go through that kind of cycle up and down, instead of going, I've gained 10 kilos, lose 10 kilos, gain 10 kilos, and then you end up looking the exact same. That is completely pointless, in my opinion. If you find the framework and you find a system that then suits you, then it's going to be the exact same when whether you're cutting or whether you're maintaining. That is what got you lean. Whatever got you lean is what's going to keep you lean. That's why doing these restricted diets, that's why doing all these restrictive kind of things for 12 weeks, for 8 weeks, all these challenges. Oh, I can do this for 12 weeks and they end up losing the weight and they're regaining it, and then they're in this cycle of losing and gaining, losing and gaining, losing and gaining, and it's like going round in circles, like Groundhog Day. So just to recap, you need a system and a framework that you can follow. You want to make the diet enjoyable. Not too strict, not too low calories, something that is going to be sustainable. You want an even split of your macros, your protein, carbs, and fats. It's going to help building muscle, maintaining hormone regulation, and boosting your testosterone. Focusing on steps over cardio, 10 to 14K steps daily. And finally, that framework that you found at the beginning to get you in shape, you want to follow that framework year round, every single day. But yes, if you follow them 5 steps, you will get lean. Not only get lean, but you'll stay lean and it will be effortless. There's so many people talking about how hard it is to do this and how hard it is to get lean. Yes, it is hard, but if you follow them frameworks, then it makes it a lot easier. And if you did find that video useful, please click like, please click subscribe. It really helps push this video out to as many people as possible, and that is the main goal of my channel. I want to make fitness, I want to make the gym, training, diet simple. I want to make it simple because it is simple to do. It isn't easy, but it is simple. Uh-oh.